everyone, welcome back. If you are new to my channel, welcome. This channel is for you if you are looking for all things women's hormones, women's health, and aesthetics. Today we are talking about cortisol. So cortisol is your energy hormone. It's your get up and go hormone, and symptoms of low cortisol are things like fatigue, irritability, sugar cravings, and then changes in weight can also come from changes in cortisol. So if you like the content that we're putting out, go ahead and hit the like button. It helps us a lot with the YouTube algorithm. And other things are subscribing to the channel so that you know when our next videos are coming out. Every single Friday we have informational videos coming your way. So let's dive into cortisol. So when we're thinking about cortisol, a lot of people think about cortisol when they think about adrenal fatigue. So adrenal fatigue is definitely a popular term, but is not necessarily a very good medical diagnosis. More accurately, we may want to say HPA dysfunction, which is hypothalamic pituitary adrenal dysfunction. Quite a mouthful, but it's basically the way your hypothalamus, pituitary, and adrenal gland all communicate with one another. Your adrenal gland is what actually produces cortisol in the body. So as I said earlier, symptoms of low cortisol are going to be things like changes in energy, irritability, and mood. They tend to be just a little bit more snappy, changes in blood sugar and some blood sugar dysfunction, and then that can all lead to changes in weight as well. Cortisol is a frequently missed hormone that I see, and it's a really important one to run. And that's because it's not just, cortisol is almost never one of those hormones that's like the only thing that's going on, but it works in tandem with everything else. So when we're running hormonal testing, so things like estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, cortisol plays a huge role in that, because if your cortisol is low, your body is super smart and it will steal pregnenolone, which is the mama hormone that's usually converted into progesterone and testosterone, and convert it to cortisol, right? The body goes, hey, we don't need libido, we don't need to have a baby, we're stressed out, we're tired, we're not doing so good, convert it to cortisol. And so we have a whole video on low testosterone in young women where we talk about that, which we will link right here. The other thing to think about with cortisol is that it greatly affects your thyroid function. Oftentimes when I see patients who have hypothyroid-like symptoms that are either not better on medication or they're not overtly hypothyroid on their labs, cortisol can be a main contributor to that. There's a couple reasons for this. So cortisol is necessary at a cellular level to use T3, which is the more active of the two thyroid hormones. It's necessary at a cellular level to be able to use that. The other thing that cortisol will do, having changes in cortisol will increase your conversion to reverse T3. Reverse T3 is inactive, but looks just like T3. I've talked about this a lot in my videos, but it's inactive, looks just like T3, so it binds up the receptor sites, blocks up your thyroid utilization at a cellular level, but with no actual physiological benefit. So when we're thinking about cortisol, right, how you run cortisol is important. Oftentimes, if patients are already doing a blood draw, if we want to get an idea on what's going on with cortisol, serum cortisol can be an okay way to start in the morning. You want to run it between 8 and 10 a.m., and we want that to be about 18 if we're running serum. The best way to run cortisol is going to be running blood or dried urine. What this does is it allows us to see the curve. Cortisol is a curve, so basically it's supposed to be high in the morning and then it slowly goes down throughout the day and then it's low at night. Sometimes what can happen is your cortisol can be really high in the morning, it can drop quite dramatically, and then you can end up with a spike back at night because you're not tired, because you're not going to bed yet, and so your cortisol ends up spiking up again, and you can end up being awake at night, unable to sleep, but exhausted during the day. So that allows us to see the curve. The other thing that running dried urine or saliva can do is allow us to check your cortisol awakening response. So cortisol awakening response is a really good measure of that HPA axis. So it allows us to really assess HPA dysfunction. And basically, when you get up in the morning, cortisol should pretty quickly rise. So within 30 minutes, it should be over 50% higher, and then it should slowly go down throughout the day. And so that allows us to really assess that cortisol awakening response, and to see how that HPA axis is functioning. If you're missing cortisol on your labs, there's a good chance you're missing a big piece of the puzzle, right? When we're thinking about reasons why we have low hormones or reasons why our thyroid may not be functioning optimally, cortisol can be a really big contributor to that. So if you're experiencing symptoms of low cortisol, like low energy, snappiness, irritability, some changes in weight, getting your cortisol assessed might be a really good option. If you have questions, put them in the comments below. And as always, like and share the video with others. See you next week.